The UN calls them one of the world's most persecuted minorities. More than 1 million people caught up in a cycle of violence and poverty without a country to call their own. Tens of thousands of Muslim Rohingyas are now living in makeshift camps in Myanmar after clashes with Buddhists. Hundreds of thousands more are being denied access to aid in Bangladesh. So why is this such a pariah group? And why is the world staying silent about it? This is Inside Story. Hello there and welcome to the programme. I'm Laura Kyle. The United Nations has appealed for more than $30 million to get aid to displaced Rohingyas in Myanmar's western Rakhine state. Ethnic clashes in June killed dozens of people and have forced around 70,000 to flee their homes. Al Jazeera has gained exclusive access to camps around Sittwe, the capital of Rakhine. Florence Louis reports.
This is all that's left of a village where two ethnic groups, the Rakhine and Rohingya, used to live. There's no reason for anyone to be here now. Homes were allowed to burn to the ground, and the villagers have long fled. For generations, the Rohingya have suffered from discrimination. Around 800,000 of them are denied citizenship under a law that was passed 30 years ago. The distrust now runs so deep that police regularly patrol areas that divide the homes of the two ethnic groups. Tens of thousands of the displaced people are still living in temporary accommodation. The Rohingya, who are mostly Muslims, live in tent shelters set up outside of town. They survive on food rations given by aid groups.
I want to go home because when it rains here in the camp, the water rises up. If I can't go back home, I want to go to another country. It's not healthy for the children to be in the camp.
But returning home is impossible because it's still not safe.
The people were very afraid, so that's why they came to the camp. Now the government is instructing the Rohingya to go to the refugee camps.
The ethnic clashes that began in June were sparked by reports that a Buddhist Rakhine woman had been raped by 3 Rohingya Muslim men. Both sides have been accused of atrocities, but the latest clashes appear to have deepened long-held prejudices against the Rohingya.
They are very cruel, very scary. They have a bad character like a devil. These devils come from another country, Bangladesh.
It's not just the Rohingya who've been displaced. The Buddhist Rakhines who've lost their homes have been moved into monasteries, although life here is more comfortable than at the camps. The market is within walking distance, making it easier for them to retain some semblance of normal life. But there were no Rohingya customers on the day Al Jazeera was there, and the stalls once owned by Muslims remain shuttered. The government has recently said it would accept more aid to cope with the number of displaced people. But unless there's reconciliation between the two communities, it's not clear how it will achieve a long-term solution. Florence Louis, Al Jazeera.
Let's take a closer look at who the Rohingyas are. They belong to an ethnic Muslim group that for centuries has lived in Rakhine State in western Myanmar. The history dates back to the early 7th century when Arab Muslim traders settled in that area. The UN estimates there are around 800,000 Rohingyas in Myanmar. This includes people of Bengali heritage who settled centuries ago, as well as people who have entered the country in recent years. But the law in Myanmar considers as citizens only those who settled in the country before independence in 1948. All immigrants who arrived after that are officially considered illegal. Persecution forced around 200,000 Rohingyas to flee to neighbouring Bangladesh in the 1980s and 90s, where they live in a number of unofficial and official camps in Cox's Bazar. Well, here today to discuss this issue in more depth are our guests. In Jeddah, we have Mohamed Noor. He's a Rohingya political analyst. In London, Tridib Deb, co-chairman of Bangabandhu Lawyers Council UK. And in Bangkok, Benjamin Zawacki, Myanmar researcher for Amnesty International Bangkok. Welcome, gentlemen, to you all. Mohamed Noor, if I could start with you, just to get an idea as to why the Rohingyas are such a pariah group.
The world has already started to open up and then see what is the matter going on in Rohingya. This has been going on for many, many decades, that people, Rohingya especially, has been persecuted by the Burmese government, and especially the Rakhine people, who are also called the Mogs. Because of the long, prolonged history of the Rohingya, who have been living in that land for many, many centuries, and now they are coordinating these attacks and this torture against Rohingya, so they make them, forcing them to leave this country so that they can have the Arakan or this part of state for themselves.
But why are they so persecuted by Myanmar?
Because they are the origin of this land. The Rohingyas are from the history, from the British colony, and even back then. So they have been living there, and now from 1982, when the Burmese government have declared that these people are not from this country, they have removed citizenship of the Rohingya people. And from there, the persecution have even escalated more, and they have, Mogs has got a license from the Burmese government to kill Rohingyas. And persecution has been going on for decades and decades. Now only people start being realizing now through the social media, and then now only we are talking about in mainstream media about this issue, but it's been going on for more than 60, 70 years now.
Benjamin Zawacki in Bangkok, it's odd, isn't it, when Myanmar recognises some 135 ethnicities within its borders, that it chooses not to recognise the Rohingya?
Yes, it is. I think it's primarily an ethnic issue. People have raised the fact that Rohingyas also happen to practice a minority religion in the country, and certainly some of the persecution they suffer is on account of that religion. But first and foremost, it is really an ethnic issue that's at stake here. And we've had ethnic Burmans, presumably ethnic Burman nationals, writing to us and calling us and protesting and saying, don't you realize these people are of a different ethnicity? And of course we do realize that. We recognize that very much. It's very apparent to make that distinction on its face, if you will. But what's very egregious is the fact that Myanmar has signed the Convention on the Rights of the Child, one of only 2 international human rights treaties to which Myanmar is a signatory, and that convention makes clear that all children have the right to a nationality. And so that should include Rohingya children as well. And yet Rohingyas are being born every day in Myanmar, and none of them is being recognized as a citizen.
And why do you think that the spotlight, as Mohamed said, is falling on this issue only now?
Well, certainly in the past 2 months, we saw in late May and then in early June 2 sort of seminal incidents of violence that kicked off some communal violence initially, which segued then into some violence being perpetrated primarily by security forces against ethnic minority Rohingyas. Although again, there has been some tit-for-tat violence there as well, with ethnic Rakhine Buddhists suffering as well. But certainly in the past 2 months, it's been communal violence that stemmed from 2 acts of violence against alternate communities. But as our previous speaker has said, this goes back decades, and it's truly systemic. It's part of Myanmar's legal and social system to discriminate against Rohingyas on the basis of their ethnicity, and they pay for it in terms of their employment, in terms of their marriage, their right to travel, their right to work, the right to be educated. All of these facets of life are affected by a system that essentially codifies, if you will, and makes lawful, if you will, at least domestically speaking, their persecution and their discrimination.
Mohamed Noor, back to you just for a moment. I mean, you are Rohingya. Just share your experience with us. What led you to end up in Saudi Arabia?
Well, my parents been born in Burma, part of Mongdo, and my mother is from Akiap, where all the violence has been happening at this time. When, because my parents have left because of the persecution. Also, at the same time, when there is a fight, when there is a small matter, Rohingya is not being recognized in any way. When you go to a police station, when local people who are Burmans, they come and attack you, and then when you go to complain to police, they will not listen to you, and they will even harass you more, and they will even put you in their prison and jail, and they will ask you compensation for it. And then it's continuously, not only for my parents, even it goes to every Rohingya that been living in that country. Sometimes I tell people that Rohingya is not a stateless. Rohingyas are made stateless in their own state. And sometimes I even tell them, stop denying Rohingya, not recognizing them. Recognition, we have it. History recognized Rohingya, but now they have to stop discriminating us, stop this. And then now, I don't think so that this can over anytime soon until these criminal people who have killed thousands of people has to be brought to justice.
Give us an idea of what it's like to be made stateless, to not belong to any one country.
My personal experience is totally. I don't think that you will never feel that you are alive. Any place you are restricted to place, you don't have a passport to move around. You might need to borrow a passport or maybe fake a passport. There are many consequences, many problems that you have to go through. If you take a Bangladeshi passport or any other passport, they will put you in a prison again. So you are in a big mouse trap that has been happening all these decades. You don't have documents, you cannot live in any country legally, you cannot pursue your education, you cannot get your medical health care. Being a stateless, you should ask from all the Rohingyas. I think they are the most persecuted minority.
Okay, Tridib Deb, it sounds pretty distressing, doesn't it? I mean, many Rohingyas inside Myanmar are referred to as illegal Bangladeshi immigrants. I mean, they do indeed speak a similar Bengali dialect to what can be found inside Bangladesh. Is there any connection there? Is there any truth to any of this?
I mean, what is happening to Rohingyas in Burma is really disturbing. But what we need to look at is what resources a country like Bangladesh has. There are about 300,000 Rohingyas living in Bangladesh, and over the years, Bangladeshi government have been providing shelter to the Rohingyas. But we need to look at the bigger picture, as the brother from Saudi Arabia quite clearly stated that it is the intention of the Burmese government to basically force Rohingyas out of their ancestral homeland. And that is the reason why what Bangladeshi government, what Bangladeshi human rights activists have been advocating is very simple. Bangladeshi human rights activists, including my organization, as well as the Bangladesh government, the current government, has been advising international community to be more proactive about the rights of Rohingyas in Burma. But in order for us to have a solution of this outstanding problem, what we have to do is we have to first democratize Burma. One of the reasons why the Rohingyas suffer in Burma is because Burma is not a democracy, so the government, the military junta, can do anything. And over in Bangladesh, we suffer as a result of that. The Rohingyas are Burmese first and foremost. They have been living in what is Burma today for generations after generations, for centuries. And the Burmese government has come up with some concocted lies that they're not Burmese citizens and therefore they're from Bangladesh. No, they're not from Bangladesh. They're Burmese nationals like any other Burmese citizen, and their rights need to be protected in Burma.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, that the presence of the Rohingya in Bangladesh puts an enormous strain on resources, that the solution to the problem lies within Myanmar itself. But the fact remains, Bangladesh does have more than 300,000 Rohingya in camps in Cox's Bazar. And yet the government is stopping aid to those people. Why is it doing that? It's a death sentence for thousands of people.
Bangladesh government has been providing all necessary aid, or as much as as much aid as it can give to the Rohingyas. But the problem here, we have to, as I said, we have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture, it's the intention of the Burmese military junta to force the Rohingyas out of their homeland so that they can come and settle in Bangladesh permanently. And they think that this is the permanent solution. No, this is not the permanent solution. the ongoing discussion that has been going on for some time between the governments of Bangladesh and the governments of Burma is that the Burmese government should take the responsibility of ensuring that due to human rights violations in Burma against the Rohingyas do not come to Bangladesh. You know, we have to find a permanent solution.
Okay. And Benjamin Zawacki, I just want to bring you into at this point because I want to get your reaction to Bangladesh stopping aid to the thousands of people who have sought refuge inside that country. Do you think that is a solution to force Myanmar to take responsibility for these people?
Well, what's been said is partly correct in the sense that the root causes of this crisis, of this problem, do lie in Myanmar. And clearly the Myanmar authorities are denying the Rohingyas the right, frankly, to avail themselves of the protection of the state. But what's happening is, as they try to cross the border when they're being persecuted and in some cases attacked by security forces and so on, is that they're being denied entry to Bangladesh in direct contravention of the international legal principle of non-refoulement, which basically means that a country is not permitted to send back to a country of origin people who have a well-founded fear of persecution in that country, in this case Myanmar, which the Rohingyas clearly do. And once inside Bangladesh, they are, as you say, being denied humanitarian assistance. International aid actors have been asked to leave the camps, have been made to leave the camps. It is called a humanitarian imperative for a reason. It is not a humanitarian option. These people's basic rights need to be met, and Bangladesh is acting in contravention of that humanitarian principle.
Okay, Tridib Deb, your response to that you're breaking this humanitarian imperative to help these people?
Well, I mean, let me put this matter into perspective. Bangladesh is a country which is, I mean, in terms of its geographical size, it's very small. Slightly, I mean, slightly more than you know, it's even. I mean, in terms of its geographical size, it's not even as large as Burma. Bangladesh is probably about 25 to 30% the size of Burma, with a population which is about 4 to 5 times more than Burma's population. Now, there are exceptions to the rule of non-refoulement. Yes, what various international human rights organizations are not looking at is that Bangladesh has been providing aid. Bangladesh has been providing assistance to Rohingyas for many decades, and it has now come to the point whereby even the Prime Minister of Bangladesh basically gave interview to the effect inviting responsible governments, democratic governments all over the world to solve the Rohingya problem. But as I stated earlier, the solution to this problem lies within the confines, within the borders of Burma, and not in Bangladesh, you see.
Okay, fair enough. Let's just throw that over to Mohamed Noor. This idea that you have to look inside Myanmar to find a solution. I'm sure you agree with that to some extent. I'm interested to explore this idea that it's not just the government being accused of discrimination here. You're also getting other ethnicities who themselves know what it's like to be persecuted. Even rights groups, even Aung San Suu Kyi dodging the issue of Rohingya. Why is that?
First of all, there are a few matters that need to be clarified from both sides. Now, just now they have explained, especially from the brother I was talking about Bangladesh government. Yes, it is true that 300,000 people are living in Bangladesh in Cox's Bazar camp, and many of them are out and in. There are many situations. International community is helping Bangladesh as well. But it's not about the problem of a geographical location, or because Bangladesh is a neighboring country. This is the only Muslim neighboring country that we can look up to. We can ask for help, which we are not getting in full, which is at this moment. Yes, we all believe that Bangladesh should not take all the Rohingyas and who are there. We are really appreciate and grateful. But at this moment, when we are talking about persecution, people are leaving the country, we are talking about fear of death, not fear of food or not fear of any kind of nutrition. We are talking about fear of death. These people are running away from fear of death. And when you look into international human rights, there are laws that within the borders, then when people has been prosecuted, the next country or bordering country should give them a shelter. This is their duty. When there is a peace restored in their own country, the refugees' responsibility is to go back.
Okay,
so
Mohamed, I just want to move the discussion forward a little bit, because we are running out of time, and there are a number of issues I still want to touch on. The issue of Aung San Suu Kyi, why is she not taking up this cause?
The first point, when in her trip to Europe, when one of the students asked her, do you recognize Rohingya as one of the ethnic minority in Arakan? She says, I don't know. So this is one of the great systematic prosecution you can ever see. And then you look at the President Thein Sein as well, that as a president, what kind of statement, that low-class statement comes from a president saying that these people are not belong here, UN should handle them. And then even NLD, which is Aung San Suu Kyi's party, they also have not issued a single statement that support Rohingya. So we have no friends inside, we have no friends outside. We are in a miserable situation.
You say you have no friends outside. I'm going to jump in because there's another point I want to get in. It's very important. Saudi is, as we speak, hosting a summit on this issue. It's invited 57 heads of Muslim countries to Mecca. What do you expect to come from that?
First of all, I would like to say that this OIC summit that has been extraordinary, it is not an ordinary extraordinary because it's happened in a holy month of Ramadan, and these holy days, which is the last 10 days of Ramadan, is the international community and Muslim community are expecting a lot, but Rohingya community are hoping and looking up to the King Abdullah and the rest of all kings and presidents from every country to look into this matter into a few sections. First of all, we must take legal action against Burma, because the summit, I would like to clear this point that demonstration is going all around the world, and then condemnation from every government is coming, but still prosecution is going on. So I urge this summit in Mecca to take a very strong and positive action against Burma to stop this and bring justice.
Benjamin Zawacki, I'm just going to turn over to you, because another very important point, Myanmar being courted by the world in its reforms, its opening up. But do you think that the Rohingya are being sacrificed as collateral damage, as it were, as the world turns to Myanmar and looks at its reforms?
Well, these things need not be mutually exclusive. There's no reason that the political and economic reform effort that is underway can't continue. There's no reason for that the West and other countries can continue to engage the government, but that does not and should not come at the exclusion of pressure on the new Myanmar government, a civilian government ostensibly to protect its civilians. As has been pointed out, the situation in Rakhine State is extremely exceptional. One of the ironies of the reform movement is that it has allowed for slightly more freedom of expression and free speech in the country, something, of course, for which Amnesty has been advocating for decades. And while that's a very good thing on its face, it has also then allowed for hate speech and incitement of violence in the media, even in the state-controlled media, whereby the Rohingyas are being demonized, are being termed as traitors and terrorists and so forth, and that should not be permitted. And so really this incident is catching the government off guard. At the very least, what needs to happen are prosecutions and convictions for the rape of the Rakhine Buddhist woman on the 28th of May that triggered then a week later the attack on 10 Muslims who were then extrajudicially killed at a government checkpoint. If the government can't bring the perpetrators of those violations to justice and swiftly, it doesn't bode well for resolving this larger systemic problem.
Okay, and Tridib Deb, last word to you. How do you see this issue being resolved? What do you want to see done?
Well, what I want to be done is I want the rights of the Rohingyas in Burma to be established firmly, and I want a concerted international effort to be taken by Muslim nations as well as by Western democratic nations. We cannot force the government of Bangladesh to take the responsibility. It's an international issue, and we have to start the process of making sure that Rohingyas' rights in Burma are fully established. The rights of the Rohingyas can only be established if Burma goes through a process of democratic reform. At the moment, there is no accountability in Burma, and the Burmese military junta has taken the view that it can obliterate the Rohingya population by forcing them across the border onto the Bangladeshi side. No, that is not the solution. The solution lies in an concerted international effort, and I'm pretty sure in today's world, where we have the proactive international media like your media organization and other human rights group, we can find a solution to this problem.
Okay, well, let's hope so. But today, unfortunately, we do have to leave it there. We have run out of time, so no solution on Inside Story today. But thanks very much for our guests for joining us. In Jeddah, we have Mohamed Noor. In London, Tridib Deb, and in Bangkok, Benjamin Zawacki. And thanks very much to you too for joining us. If you have any comments or suggestions, do drop us an email. That's at aljazeera.net. I'm Laura Kyle. Bye for now.